Thank you. I'd also like to thank Russell, Jeff, and Renee for letting me speak after lunch when most people are asleep. The back room there, those who are sleeping, I'm used to speaking when people are sleeping. Anyway, thank you very, very much. This is always one of my favorite events of the entire year because of the energy I feel, the commitment, and for once, I am not the youngest person in the room. You think I'm kidding? But in the Jewish world of organizations, I think I'm just about in the middle age. But what we see here today are young people. And somehow Russell Robinson and his team has put together young people. I don't know how you did it, but they've learned that's a heritage, a legacy. And we are talking about the only Jewish state in the world, and it's worth defending. It's not just worth defending, it is vital that we defend it. I'm going to look back, and I want to start on a slightly different topic. I want today to begin with a thought about vision and visionaries. Most human beings go through life day by day. They get up, they work, they solve problems, then they move on to the next day, and they do it all over again. But there are few, very few, who see far, far ahead. They plan for events that no one else can see. Now imagine what the Jewish world looked like in 1890. Many European Jews lived privileged lives. Jews in Berlin and Vienna, Paris and Brussels had great wealth. They had prestige, they were well connected, but there was one man among them who read the same newspapers, who heard the same stories, but what he saw was different from everyone else. Theodor Herzl was a very assimilated Jew working for the Freie Presse, a Viennese newspaper in Paris. In 1894, he saw something that changed his life. He saw Captain Alfred Dreyfus falsely accused of spying. In a way, this changed his life. He saw anti-Semitism in France in a new way he never thought possible. Émile Zola, the famous writer, wrote a very famous piece on the front page of one of the major newspapers entitled J'accuse. And what he said is that Alfred Dreyfus was falsely accused because he was a Jew. There can be no more blatant anti-Semitism. After seeing this, Theodor Herzl went back to Vienna, quit his job, and dedicated his life to the Jewish people. Herzl saw a time when that easy life would end for European Jews. He saw a time when Jews could not rely on others for protection. In 1901, decades before Hitler, Theodor Herzl told Jews in Europe and around the world, it's time to go home. He had a vision of Jews defending themselves with their own soldiers in their own land. That is vision on a superhuman level. And exactly 115 years ago, Theodor Herzl founded the Jewish National Fund. This story, Israel's story, is one of the most positive, uplifting stories that's ever been told. A people so beleaguered, so threatened, and so persecuted that just stand up and one day say, enough is enough. Or as my grandparents said, Ganuk is Ganuk. We don't want your pity. We don't need your promises. And we certainly can't count on your protection. We'll do it all ourselves. Amazingly, against all odds, they actually did it themselves. And to help build that land, that country, where there were no cities, no roads or schools, very little food and no water, Herzl knew his plan would require an infrastructure. Here's another part of the amazing story. The Jewish National Fund has walked along the state of Israel every step of the way. We planted its forest. We built its dams and reservoirs. We helped develop the land and build over 1,000 parks out of nothing. The Jewish people created one of the most advanced democracies, not just in the Middle East, but in the entire world, out of nothing. Now, can you imagine the amazing vision that Herzl had in 1901? That was a time when most people understood the heroic nature of Israel. Why do you think Leon Uris's book, Exodus, was one of the best-selling books of all times? People recognize an amazing story when they hear one. People like stories about great heroes, winning against all odds. And that's our story, the story of the Jewish people. So what happened? The fact is, the truth was hijacked. Remember the big lie theory of Joseph Goebbels. You tell a lie often enough, and people believe it. That's what started happening in the 1960s. The most outrageous lies came out of the Arab world and the Soviet bloc. Preposterous lies. Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, the only country where all religions live together. And Israel was labeled an apartheid state. Rockets are fired at Israel from schools and apartment buildings in Gaza. As any other country in the world would try to defend itself, Israel is blamed for war crimes. Israel became the most vilified country in the UN. And when Syria kills over 500,000 of its own citizens and creates a refugee crisis that endangers the entire continent of Europe, Israel is charged with crimes against humanity. It's the big lie being repeated over and over and over again. Now we see the growing BDS movement that's become popular with aging rock stars, celebrities, and students that blindly follow them. Make no mistake, the BDS campaign is a campaign to delegitimize Israel, which is simply the latest effort to deny the Jewish people their right to self-determination. Every other people on earth has that right, but BDS wants to deny the rights to Jews. Do the British have a right to Britain? Do the French have a right to France? Do Germans have a right to Germany? Well, before there was a Great Britain, or France, or Germany, there was a Jewish kingdom in the land of Judea. This great land had a king, a temple, with laws and a Torah. And if you don't believe that, there's a strong historic background back up to it. It is one of the most best-selling books of all time. It's called the Bible. So when someone says the Jewish state of Israel is not legitimate, that's a lie. Let them read the Bible once. This is the most important part of my talk. I'm here to tell you that the days of playing defense are over. The days of the ghetto Jew, the quiet Jew, the timid Jew ended long ago. And I can assure you, we as a people are not going back there. We have a story, and it's a proud story. We have nothing to be ashamed of. On the contrary, the story of Israel, the story of the Jewish people, is the envy of the world. Why do you think the biggest anti-Semites always say they are real Jews? The plain fact is, they envy us. I'd like to tell you a personal story. I was once a Geno. Now, what's a Geno? A Jew in name only. Yes, I was bar mitzvahed, but I only went to synagogue twice a year. That's 2 times more than most people. And although I didn't shy away from being Jewish, it was not an important part of my life. So how did I go from being a Geno to president of JNF and the World Jewish Congress? The answer is simple: anti-Semites. It just took some anti-Semites to push me there. 35 years ago, when I was appointed U.S. ambassador to Austria, Joe Cal, my wife, and I thought, great, we love Vienna. We love the art, the architecture. This will be a terrific posting. There was only one problem. And that problem was I arrived right in the middle of the Kurt Waldheim affair. For those of you who might not remember, or were not even born then, Kurt Waldheim was the Secretary General of the United Nations, who lied about his past in the German army in World War II. He told everybody he was a lawyer. Waldheim left New York and the UN in disgrace. But in his native Austria, people were upset, not at Waldheim, but at certain New York newspapers. They blamed the stirring up of all this up. By New York newspapers, they meant Jewish newspapers. So the Austrians showed their true feelings. They elected Kurt Waldheim president. As ambassador, one of my first jobs was to attend Waldheim's inauguration. When I told the State Department I refused to go, they said I had to. But there was one person who was on my side, and he happened to be the boss, Secretary of State George Shultz. He agreed with me. I skipped the event, and believe me, it was noticed. And because of my absence, I was attacked throughout Austria. I wasn't called the U.S. ambassador. I was called the Jewish U.S. ambassador by the anti-Semites. I must tell you, my wife, Jo Carroll, who did not read German, used to ask me, what are the papers saying about you? I said they love me. It's a little lie. Thank God she never asked for a translation. But these anti-Semites didn't understand what they had actually done. The fact is, they made me angry, and they got me involved. First, with my foundation to build Jewish schools throughout Europe, then with the Conference of Presidents, and then the JNF, one of my most happiest times of my life. And now with the World Jewish Congress. Along the way, I got angrier and angrier. when I saw anti-Semitism. And every time I saw it, I got more involved in Jewish causes. In many ways, Kurt Waldheim made me a Jew. My guess is many of you have had the same experience. Sometimes it takes anti-Semitism to wake us up and get us involved. That's what happened with Herzl and the Dreyfus trial. You see, you're in good company. I was sitting down with Russell recently, and he said something I've been thinking about. He said, people, where's Russell? There he is. Once in a while I listen to him. And sometimes I have no choice. But it's worth listening to Russell when he's agreeing with you. He said to me, people will always side with the winning team. When the Yankees start losing, the stands are empty. But when they're winning, you can't get a ticket. So I have a prediction. I think the tide is turning. I think people are waking up. That the lies of the anti-Semites and BDS, I think people are beginning to remember that amazing little country that Jews built from scratch, in spite of what you hear on the BBC or you read in the New York Times. This is not a commercial for the Times. I think people get it. They know Israel wants peace, but will defend the homeland at all costs. They know the medical breakthroughs and the high tech that comes from Israel. And they know that Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran have absolutely no intention of making peace with the Jewish state. They know that Israel is on the winning side. And here's where you come in. I want of all of you to continue fighting the people who want to destroy us. It's as simple as standing up at a dinner party and defending Israel when someone spouts these lies. You can do that through op-eds or letters to the editor in your local newspapers, and you certainly must do this on the internet. You've all taken the first smartest step. You are here at the JNF plenary, surrounded by people who agree with you, some of them. You're in the right place. You might not be in Israel, but in a way, you are home. So realizing that Jews are among the most creative people on earth, the JNF have put that creativity to work. That is how we will fight BDS in 2016. We won't make up lies that they do. We will tell the truth. But we're going to tell the truth in a very aggressive way. We are committing our resources, our abilities, our energy to help you fight BDS. That's how. You all know that the best way to sell Israel is to see Israel. Over and over again, I've seen people return from their first trip to Israel saying the same thing. I never imagined it would look like this. All their lives they've heard distortions, but what they actually see, the reality of Israel, they get it immediately. So understanding the bias on college campuses against Israel, the JNF has created faculty fellowships. We are bringing professors from all economic backgrounds to Israel through the generous support of major donors. And that's Monroe and Peggy Wingate, Sandy and Bud Davidson, Alan Fisher and Barbara Summer, and Mark and Judy Felguaz. Did I get it right? Yeah, hey. We bring professors to Israel and show them the state. We link them with Israel academics, allowing them to start cross-cultural collaboration. So far, I understand we've taken 108 professors from dozens of schools, including Ohio State, Howard, Kentucky, Johns Hopkins, Harvard, and Purdue. The professors come back and will teach hundreds of students thousands over the years, and the return on investment will be astounding. Once again, we are fighting lies with truth. In an effort to fight back on the front we're losing right now, the communications battle, JNF has created the Language Laboratory, Language Library. Here is a resource center for all pro-Israel organizations. They are struggling to present a positive image of Israel on campuses and in the media. We've hired a brilliant communication specialist, Dr. Frank Luntz, to create a series of programs that will give Jewish students the words and the courage to stand up for themselves and their people. All they need is direction and a cheerleader. They need to know they are not alone, that we are with them. Frank is also creating a direct mail campaign, op-eds and calls to rabbis before the major holidays to help them focus on a pro-Israel message in their sermons. That is something the White House has done in the past. To get their message across, it's time we did the same thing. Here's one of my favorite ideas, coming from Russell. We are creating a new media prize that will be handed out for the following categories: Best full-length film that is positive towards Israel. Hopefully there'll be more than one. Assuming the most effective Twitter message, or the best short film on YouTube, the best Instagram. We'll use the internet to push the creative, dynamic, and intelligent Jewish and non-Jewish parts of Israel to collectively build a more vibrant Israel and an image for Israel and the Jewish people. Our greatest strength is Jewish creativity, and the JNF harness that great talent. We will nurture it and push it forward. We don't have yet a name for this award, but we are open for suggestions. Maybe we should call it the Russell. It's a unique name, right, for an award. We have to see what the figure would look like. That's okay, Russell. Everyone appreciates it. And we haven't forgotten about Israel's infrastructure, its forests, and its water. The JNF is still there, working hard and succeeding. Beyond Theodore Herzl's greatest dreams, we just believe that the present onslaught against Israel and the Jewish people, we cannot afford to ignore the serious challenges we face. Along with this goes many different efforts that the World Jewish Congress is making on these fronts as well. We're using something we have in abundance: smart Jewish lawyers. I've yet to find a non-smart Jewish lawyer. These Jewish lawyers go after boycotters who are breaking federal laws and against bias and discrimination, and we are winning. We are supporting rock stars and actors who go to Israel in the face of the boycott pressure. And the World Jewish Congress is also working on college campuses, along with JNF's Caravan for Democracy, to support Jewish students and build an honest case for Israel. I said earlier that I love this event because I see many faces in the crowd. I know there are also young Jews here across the country who care about Israel as much as we do. You have to find them. You have to tell them that there is an organization that gets it. After 115 years, the Jewish National Fund is more alive, more energetic, and more committed to our people than any time in the past. I'm encouraged by all of you You inspire me. You inspire people throughout the world. Let me tell you, when I travel around to many countries, they all know about Jewish National Fund. I remind them it's Jewish National Fund USA. Sometimes, one time I did it and someone got up and said, "I'm from France. What do you think?" I said, "Sorry." And you encouraged me to continue my work. I thank you. I absolutely believe that all of us are in the front lines of this battle. I see you the same way as I see IDF soldiers who are defending the state of Israel. You are engaged on a different battlefield, but one that's no less critical. This also gives me a chance to be part of something. It gives you a chance to be standing up for something that's as vital as anything you'll ever do in your life. You are defending our people. There is one more part of this fight that changes today. From now on, we celebrate Israel, and we are loud about it. There's one more remarkable country in the world, and that world, we must tell the world what we're seeing and what we think. The millions of supporters of the Jewish state will stand by us. The hundreds of thousands of people of all religions who visit Israel and have a fabulous time will stand by us. We will stand by the wonderful Christians who support Israel with their visits and their votes. We are not alone. We have friends, decent, good people who know what's at stake and understand the truth. Bottom line, Israel is a fabulous country, a vibrant, caring, decent country, amazing country, period. End of story. Finally, we are coming soon to the high holidays. And every time I come close to Yom Kippur, I think about Yom Kippur 1973. My guess is many of you feel the same way. On that Yom Kippur, 43 years ago, a handful of young Israelis stood on the front lines in Sinai and on the Golan. They defended our birthright, the Jewish state, against overwhelming odds. They did not run. They found courage and strength from one another, and they believe in their cause. That is what I propose we do today. We find courage and strength from everyone in this room and beyond, and we won't give up. We will never give up. I want you to go out of this meetings with renewed faith, renewed energy, and strength. We will work even harder. Remember this, yes, the challenges are great, but we have tremendous strengths, and we'll use these strengths the way Theodor Herzl galvanized the Jewish people 115 years ago. God bless his memory. God bless all of you. And may God continue to bless the United States of America and the Jewish state of Israel. Thank you.